The greatest thing from Quebec since Celine Dion and GSP.
A pair of siblings.
A couple of stellar young men.
Two brothers.
These two young men. Two siblings. The hard-hitting pair represent Canada.
Welcome to Thinkin Bros. My name is Chris.
And I'm Alex.
We're your favorite corner store philosophers trying to figure out life one conundrum at a time. Today we're going to be discussing a movie, Memento, by Christopher Nolan. And I'd like to preface this with saying I finally understand the thing about representation in movies. Because I finally get minority represented in a movie. And I think people don't talk about this enough. But, you know, we're real. We're here. People with anterograde amnesia, we're here. I can't form new memories. Everyone knows this. And it feels great to kind of feel myself in the shoes of the main character.
You have vocabularic anterograde amnesia.
Vocabularic is pretty good, Mr. Psychologist.
What did you start with?
So I have this condition, by the way.
I finally understand representation.
In
that
movies.
was funny.
Yeah.
Representation. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
Indian superheroes and whatnot. So.
Oh, I want to see that movie.
The one that everything
Monkey
is
Man?
pushing. Yeah, everything is pushing. I don't. I'm just saying
the
there
trailer
has
sounds nice.
Does any action movie's trailer sound nice? In 2024, feels like effects and stuff. Anyway, but in the 2000s, they had original ideas. Now, did you know that the movie script was a short story idea written by Christopher Nolan's brother?
Ooh, I didn't
And
know
my only
that.
question to that is, why can't you be like that?
Just write like chapters for your book.
Well, yeah, I mean, the entire idea of kind of telling a story backwards on a guy with anterograde amnesia, which essentially means that before the accident that caused it, he couldn't form. Well, I'm sorry, he has memory of everything, but after the accident, he can't form new memories.
Yeah.
So he lives in. I mean, is that what memento means? No, that's remembrance.
He lives in the memento.
He lives in the memento, and he lives in these, I don't know, 3 to 5 minute episodes upon which he forgets. He kind of zones out and everything restarts for him. Yeah.
First of all, that sounds just like obviously not. I'm not that smart to make a movie like this, but it sounds like one of those ideas you would have to be like, dude, what if like the movie is out of order and then like Christopher Nolan just actually did it? Like the movie's out of order and the movie makes sense.
Yeah,
And
he said, I'll show you out of order, right?
Yeah, he
what
stood up
said.
and he was
He
blind
did.
and
Yeah.
and like it makes so much sense. It's just so well implemented. But yeah.
And it's cool to see upon your first watch a movie that you already know has a rewatchability value. By the way, it's a free movie on YouTube, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Which is why we're also in a really good spot to discuss it, because literally anyone watching this podcast has access to it for sure.
And you should definitely watch it.
And it's really good, yeah.
It feels like one of those, like now that we're adults, we hate everything and everything was better when we were young.
Yeah.
But it feels like one of those movies that like is actually good and will be like, it's a new memory that we formed in adulthood that's actually good.
Yeah, definitely. I defend it with a nostalgic kind of undertone. I'll be
Right,
like,
'cause
no,
was-
this was the movie of
Yeah.
my childhood. Like,
yeah.
what do you mean? It was revolutionary. And I don't know. I did a lot of research to be able to expand our conversation. I did what did the Coke
Literature
Zero
review.
guy call it? No.
What did the what?
Coke Zero guy call it? Pepsi or whatever.
Who's that?
Expanded reading? Is that what it is? Yeah, I did some expanded reading.
Which is a really bad name and we should really change it.
Yeah, change it. So
No, but he used to say that.
expanded reading.
Yeah, but then he said, which is
Change-
not a good name for it, and then we should change it.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, yeah, I get the cheesiness of it. Okay. And essentially,
Yeah, so the main character has anterograde amnesia. What I did want to say is that if he does have anterograde amnesia, some parts sort of don't make sense. The fact that he knows
definitely. I was going to
knows
say
his
that
condition.
there's... Yeah.
he can't know his condition.
Yes, but there's always... In these amnesia cases, there's always this adaptation period where Well,
Is there? Is that your expanded reading
yeah.
insight?
No, I do remember that from classes. I think, especially when it's not necessarily a physical accident, some things happen where, well, for him it was a physical accident, but still, it's not like right before the accident and right after the accident. I think there's some adaptation that happens, but also the entire ending of the movie, which we'll discuss what that means.
So the part of the movie that came at the
At
150-minute mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That one doesn't really make sense. So yeah, our
Computer
20-year-old computer just twitched after booting up for 11 minutes. So
And if you want to know how
we're
a
just-
computer twitches, don't ask.
Oh, it did it again. Okay, so we might not be recording, but this is great because it will mirror the anterograde amnesia condition.
And we'll just record it tomorrow, dude.
We'll just record it tomorrow without even worrying about today. So, okay, we must get to starting to explain the plot because all our discussion will be based on this.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say, what I wanted to say is what you said. I get what you're saying, but there's a much bigger problem with the way you're saying.
Okay.
Because the ending of the movie, the entire kind of reason why he created this
Movie.
duality, let's say,
Okay,
why
yeah.
he created the duality, which we'll get to again,
Yeah.
doesn't make sense because it was all after the accident. All the things he should be guilty for are after the accident. You get it?
The things he should be guilty for are after the
Let's
accident.
try to speed run the plot. Okay? So, okay.
Wait, but how? Okay, yeah. No, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
follow along with whatever you do because I think that there's many ways of explaining the plot. But
No,
I
I'm
don't
going to
know.
explain it like I explained to you visually. And this is Christopher Nolan's way of graphing the movie out. Okay. So imagine an arrow pointing to the right. Okay. Now you're going to take the arrow, fold it at the middle mark, and lift the right side up and flip it 180 degrees.
It's a bendy arrow that creates a U-shape looking left.
Yeah, it's a U-shape looking left. So now the part on the bottom, if you did what I said visually,
You're already mad.
it's pointing right, and that's kind of the flow of time. But the part on the top is pointing left, and that's the end of the story. But the arrow that we gave you is kind of the way the story from the left to the right is the way the story is told. Okay, so it starts with the top of the folded arrow, right? The top, okay, which is pointing left. So it's the last scene chronologically of the movie, the ending that happens, okay? Now, that scene itself, and this is an outlier, is reversed
Yes.
because it's a photograph that is fading. And Christopher Nolan also says, if you want to get the whole movie, just watch the opening shot, which is a fading photograph in reverse. Because the photograph in reality, in chronological order, should be taken and impressed onto the what's the photo thing? I'm gonna forget the camera. Polaroid, yeah. Okay, so it's confusing, but okay. So it starts with the last chronological shot of the story.
And it's actually played like if we look at this arrow and it's played this way, so it's like
Toward the right.
chronologically with the movie it's played in anyway, that's not
So okay. Now, the way the movie is told is it's interspersed between the top of the bended arrow and the bottom. Okay, so there's
episodes from both the top and the bottom. So basically the first half of the story and the second half of the story are alternatively played one after the other.
Yeah, exactly. And and the last half of the story is played in reverse order. So you really just have to watch the movie because
Or watch the episode, watch my hand.
yeah. Either go on YouTube or literally just watch the actual Memento movie. Also, I'm sorry about this, but the title is going to be Memento Mori in parentheses sorry, because it rhymes and it's also a bad title, so I'm going to say sorry for it. But I'm telling you now. So okay, now it's an alternation between chronological black and white scenes, which are at the beginning of the story, And all of it is kind of a phone conversation in him in a hotel room. So it's going to make sense when we're going to talk about what he does there. And then the rest is kind of the action of it, which is presented in color. And the scenes themselves are in reverse chronological order. Okay? I mean, that sounds like summary. Obviously, if you saw a graph of what we mean, it'd be much easier. We could make the episode cover a graph or link it. Maybe make an extra resource on the website and make a link.
Yeah, maybe.
I could do it.
You can't put that in the description, right? You can't put like a PDF and...
No. Maybe if we draw it with writable characters. But I digress. So the opening, as we said, okay, it's the scene of someone having been shot. Okay, so let's take the listeners with us on the journey of discovery of what's going on, because the intrigue is definitely there up until the end. So you're making theories and whatnot. Maybe we can talk about our impressions as the story advances. And let's try to make the actually storytelling part as short as possible. Okay. The opening scene, our main character, whose name is Leonard, we'll come to learn that, is just took a Polaroid picture and he's shaking it. And it's a person lying on the floor dead. And that is played in reverse. So at the beginning, you see the person clearly, and then that person is fading. Okay, now we go to the black and white. He wakes up in a hotel room and he says, you wake up in an anonymous hotel room. You maybe been there for a day or a week or 3 months. he makes these jumps because he has no idea. But we come to...
But he has... Yeah.
He has this condition. So
I have this condition.
But
yeah, and then you check the drawers, even though there's nothing in it. You check them anyway.
Yeah, and then there's the Bible, which he reads religiously, which is a joke he makes. Anyway, so already we spent too long on the first black and white scene. We're never gonna get done. Okay, then he gets greeted by a friend who calls him Lenny. Then he says, "Call me Leonard. My wife used to call me Lenny." Obviously, the friend knows that, and his name is
Johnny. Lenny.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the Teddy. Okay.
Teddy.
Now we learn
so many
about,
Y's in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Sammy. So we learn about. Well, we're never gonna get through this, are we? If this is how we talk,
if you're going through the movie as the movie is presented, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
it makes sense even. So maybe this will be useful for us too. I think we can go in the sense of the arrow and go through the story.
Yeah,
but that takes out like half the interest of the movie, though.
Yeah, it's boring. Yeah, and also spoil for anyone who actually wants to watch the movie. It also spoils them. So you know what? How about this? This is an episode for everyone who heard the first 10 minutes, accepted our praises, watched the movie, and then
came back
for the spoilers and the discussion,
and is here to talk with us.
So yeah, I think we're gonna be forced to take all the fun out of it, and essentially.
There's too many switches. Like it switches too many times.
Yeah, and we're not going to convey any of the fun and intrigue of it, because I mean the music complements it, the visuals, the whatever.
You didn't just say that, man. Who are you?
It's really no, but you know what? Because Christopher Nolan earned my respect. I didn't know about like I even watched Oppenheimer in cinema and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just a movie, right? It's ultimately just a movie. It's good.
Yeah. But I mean, as you said, I think it's hard to find good movies, so that is good.
And also, I like original ideas. This was just a historical story. Well, I mean, when I say this, I mean Oppenheimer. It was just a historical story told very well with some very good actors and some very good shots, but that's all it is. Like Memento is that, plus a very original concept that keeps you intrigued until the end.
Yeah, I feel like we like concept movies where there's something happening. Like The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan, right? But it's just a movie. It's just that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because ultimately, okay, sure. I mean, honestly, the exploration in The Dark Knight of who's actually the villain is fine. It's cool, but
it's fine.
You know, it's like with Memento. If you remove the last 20 minutes of the movie, I'm gonna pay an additional ticket at the movie theater just to go see that 20 minutes.
Right.
With Oppenheimer, when you're at the third hour, you're like, all right, well.
I'll look it up on Wikipedia, whatever it is.
Like it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing for Batman. Guess who wins? The good guy. Oh,
Or
but
is he the good
or
guy?
is he? Yeah, he's wearing the mask and he's cool. Like, yeah, he's the good guy. So, but this is special. So, okay. He has this accident. Yeah, let's do it chronologically.
Yeah.
Screw it. He has this accident where two home invaders go into his house in the middle of the night.
But the discovery we leave for the end, though. That you could discuss right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And yeah, so his wife gets killed. He grabs his gun because he hears noises in the... Well, wait.
Noise in the bathroom.
Yeah, but do I say that his wife gets killed? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So his wife gets killed.
That's what I meant.
He grabs the gun. I thought you meant his hand.
Mm.
So he grabs the gun, which America, right? Obviously, also in the hotel room in the first shot, he opens his drawer and there's a Bible.
It's
and
not the first shot, but at some point.
Yeah, at some point. And there's a Bible and a gun on it, and I'm like, okay, America, right? So
No, but he says it's probably his gun. They wouldn't give a gun to someone with a condition like mine.
that. So yeah.
So he shoots the first invader.
And so yeah.
I think this we find out later, but I mean, it doesn't matter. There's an accident, and he gets pushed into a mirror. He knocks his head on the mirror. The accident causes, I would guess, damage to his hippocampus, and he gets this condition, anterograde amnesia, where he can't form new memories.
Exactly. So now he's, again, this is the first black and white scene I was struggling to tell. He's talking to a person. We don't know who it is until the end of the movie.
We don't know how much time has elapsed since the accident.
Yeah, since his wife died and whatnot. And he's going through this phone conversation. I mean, it's mainly facts about
we don't hear
case because essentially, if we, from the beginning of the story and for most of it, we think that the big mission is to find this guy who he knows to be named John G, who is that mysterious person who killed his wife, and it's a revenge story, right? We also get a shot of one of the parts of his system to remember, and it's tattoos. And it's pretty iconic in the sense that, the guy with the tattoos of memories, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's
so he keeps, I mean, to function throughout the day, if you only have a couple minutes where you're functional, you make notes, right? So he makes notes about his next move, and he finds it on him. That's another part that didn't make sense. He says, you have 6 pockets, this one dedicated to this. But I don't know how he would have developed the system if he just got his condition and can't form new memories.
Exactly. And even the theory that he could do these things through habituation, right? Where his hippocampus isn't the same part that actually encodes for, not habit forming, but reflexes, right? Reflexes, let's say you always have, I don't know, you're allergic and you always have your EpiPen in the top left pocket. And then every time you feel a reaction coming, because you have so much experience with it, you reach for the EpiPen automatically without even knowing what you're reaching for.
But it's also conditioning. It's you can't form new memories in the sense that you can't integrate everything and get the flashback to what caused your conditioning, but you can get conditioned in the sense that your brain sort of still forms the association of when you see this stimulus, you have a certain reaction with your hands. So what Sam should have gotten was you see the triangle, and you reach for it, but you don't reach for it anymore. Yeah, but not an explicit memory of why you don't act that way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're gonna get to who Sam is, but the problem is, his 3 main ways of keeping notes are paper, which he only does for a lot, when there's a lot of information, he's gonna quickly transcribe it to something else. His tattoos, which are the main source and things to remember kind of forever, and these mementos, I guess, is what my conception of them is.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And it's these Polaroid pictures where he writes the name of the person. For example, he takes a photo of a person he interacts with a lot, takes a picture, writes the name, and then on the other side he writes some
information about them.
Information about them. Now,
or his car or his hotel.
Yeah, and his main tattoos on his body are either cues about how to handle this memory thing, which is don't. I think what are some of them? Think about the source. Don't trust any. Yeah, trust your own writing. I mean, this is kind of something he's integrated. It's not one of his tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is his big mission, which is information about John G. So obviously, his main mission is to kill John G. There's a spot on his chest which kind of just knows what it's for. Once again,
Yeah, he says, I think it's for when I actually do it, and he'll get a tattoo.
yeah. There's a big gap on his chest where there's not a tattoo. Then on his arms and legs, he has these facts ranging from 1 to 6, and the facts are things about John G. So white male. I actually have them all. White male, first name John or James, last name G.
License plate.
Yeah, a license plate, and the fact that he's a drug dealer. Now, later on, he explains that he was in a real estate,
Insurance.
an insurance claim investigator, and a pretty successful one. And he learned to read people, and he needs to
I love
look
that,
people.
like those stories.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I was on board, and I was like, yeah, he's just like me, right? More and more. But then, I mean, not to spoil everything, but literally every single person in the movie manipulates him and uses him and lies to him right in his face, which is so, I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really, at the beginning, you like kind of every character. You get suspicious of Teddy.
I don't know if you can like Teddy with that face, man.
Yeah, it's just a mustache. It's not doing it for me ever. And I think I think that's what's part of brilliant movie making, whatever. Is that if he has a phase that you don't like, and even an attitude like, "Hey, Lenny,"
You're supposed to not like him.
yeah, like using Leonard's mental deficiency to piss him off with the nickname that his dead wife used on him, and it reminds Leonard of her.
Yeah.
Every single time you see him,
Even though you know probably from the first time.
yeah, of course, yeah. Ever since he told you for the first time, you know it pisses him off, so you're just gonna do it. I know it's a thing you do between friends, but with the memory thing, and later on in the movie, he says, or someone else says, "I get to say the same." I guess I get to tell you the same jokes every time, so it's great. It's a great friendship. Yeah, it is Teddy.
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
And another tattoo he has on his hand is, remember Sam Jenkins. So we've talked about Sam Jenkins.
You just don't want to say Sammy because there's too many Y's.
Oh, it's actually Sammy. I thought it was Sam. Yeah, Sammy Jenkins. And when he worked in his insurance investigating job, he got this case of I guess the family, but the wife mainly, making a claim that his husband had a car accident and he had this condition. So sort of anterograde amnesia, where he couldn't form new memories. And as you can imagine, that's very debilitating, and you can't really sustain, have a job, make money. And they made that insurance claim, and he was there to investigate. And also, I feel like that family liked him too much. Like, you must hate insurance claim investigators.
Yeah, there was a certain impartiality where the wife just kind of reacted in a way where it was like, oh, he's investigating, or he's doing the investigation.
Yeah.
Oh, facts. He found a fact about my no, you want the money ultimately.
Maybe he's just a likable guy. Yeah.
Maybe he is. I mean, to be fair, he is Walmart Brad Pitt. No, but his physique is insane, and that's exactly how skinny I want to get for everyone who wants a reference. No, but he looks insane.
Yeah, I mean, he's just perfect for the role. I haven't seen him in anything else though.
I know it's a big thing. I saw in the comments that he after that he didn't get many cool roles.
Wow.
He has two, I think. His L.A. Confidential, which is a big movie, and that, and the other ones are Yeah. It's a shame. So honestly, because we're going to discuss the philosophical outcomes and the psychological ones, how about we give a summary by character? What happens with every character?
Okay, sure. I'll finish Sammy Jenkins then.
Okay. Can I just do the hotel clerk just to get it out of the way?
Yeah.
It's okay. This hotel clerk, I mean, pretty okay guy. He understands the condition. He jokes about it. He tests him in the sense that, he's gonna whatever. But at a certain point, they enter the wrong room, and because obviously Leonard forgot his keys, and he goes to open it for him, and they open the room, and then the hotel guy seems stressed, and he's like, no, let's go, this is not your room. And then Leonard recognizes some of his things in it, and I'm like, okay, he's part of the bigger plot. Like, this is something interesting.
Yeah.
Like, he had to not see what's in that room. But actually what happens is the business wasn't going very well, so they rented Leonard 2 rooms because he's riding around in this Jaguar, which is a really cool car, and with his expensive suit, so everyone kind of sees that he has money, which is a really bad thing to have when you also have this condition. And to be fair, there is a certain humor where both understand that, you got me, and I should have been more careful. And the hotel clerk says, always get the bill, right? Always have a confirmation that you actually paid for it, and you're not having.
Thank you. I'll write that down.
Yeah. So yeah,
and he's so not pissed off about it. He's just like, you got me.
Let's just say it takes a lot to get him angry.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Sammy Jenkins, anterograde amnesia, and so I guess Leonard does his research. Lenny does his research, and he finds that people with anterograde amnesia should still respond to conditioning. So the test that is given to Sammy to test this out is a bunch of shapes made out of metal are put in front of Sammy, and it's just a question of, pick 3 shapes at random, and he picks them, and only some of the shapes are electrified, so that when he picks them up, he gets shocked. Unenjoyable, and in theory, even people with anterograde amnesia should learn through conditioning not to pick up that item. And so he won't have a memory to speak for it. He won't be able to say, oh, that's because that thing is electrified. He just won't pick it, because once again, the task is just pick 3 random shapes. He would just avoid them on every time he would get asked eventually, or most of the time. But he never develops it. So the test is given, and over time they see that he picks up the pyramid, which is electrified, at the same rate, and he gives the same reaction every time. And that's taken as evidence that he's faking, because all other cases of anterograde amnesia have this feature where they can learn through conditioning. Now, so Leonard wins the case. They don't pay him money, and the wife has to pay their expenses herself and everything. But all the company says, and all that Leonard ever says, is physically there's no reason why Sammy shouldn't be able to make new memories. So I guess science doesn't understand why he doesn't make new memories. He never says that he's faking, but that's the implication. And at some point, the wife comes back to Leonard, to see Leonard specifically.
I mean, okay, but it's not necessarily the implication, because it's in the same way where I know it's said, and I know that for the wife, it definitely makes sense to come to that conclusion, but it's like saying that your pain is psychosomatic. It's not that you're faking. It's that it's psychological and not physical. There's a very different thing.
I see. So my thing is just, if they're not getting paid money, the implication
it's a legal loophole for sure. No. The implication is really just, look, you're insured for physical damage. Now, whatever lawyery loopholes you want to find in that this condition is psychological.
Physical damage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's not faking.
Yeah. So the conclusion from that investigation is that the problem is psychological. And yes, you're right. The wife gets from it that he's faking. I guess Leonard doesn't have an opinion. He doesn't say explicitly what his opinion on it is. Although in the beginning he thinks he's faking. Oh yeah, this is also important. So Sammy, every time he sees Leonard, he acts, because he doesn't remember him, he acts as if it's the first time he sees him. So he says, "Oh, hi, what's your name?" Whatever. But Leonard says that he sees this look in his eye of recognition. So he suspects that he's faking also. And we learn further in the movie. So tragically, the wife comes back from this meeting with Leonard, where Leonard says physically there's no reason for him not to be able to form memories, which strictly speaking doesn't mean he's faking, but the wife, I mean, you might as well have said that to the wife, right? So she comes back home and she knows her husband loves her. So she puts him to the ultimate test. And being diabetic, she asks for her insulin shot, which her husband always gave her, even when after his injury or after the incident, he was able to give her the insulin shot just because it's hardwired in his brain from so many years of doing it already.
And he was, because of that, he was good with needles, which will come back later. The tattoos. Spoiler. But
yeah. So the ultimate test that the wife gives him, because she knows he loves her, is to ask for the insulin shot, and then ask for the insulin shot 5 minutes later, again and again. Until she overdoses, I guess, and dies. And he does it. I love that story. Like, it's so sad. It's literally like he's proving that he's not faking, and
but
she dies.
I think you missed a big point, and it's that he says it very subtly, but it's not a way to get necessarily closure while it is, but it's because she wants to punish herself for making him go through all of the stuff she did, and all of that stuff was prior tests to see if he's faking, like hiding food around the house to see if his hunger will pierce through and make him find the food. So he has to stop faking because he's just too hungry to fake. And she made him go through all these cycles and hid things from him and like tortured him into. Did you say that? Did I miss it?
I didn't say that, but I mean,
it was a way to punish herself and get closure at the same time, which makes it like very sad. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's also described as, she devised the ultimate test, but yeah. I definitely agree that that's a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason she was willing to even, she knew that one of the outcomes would be her dying, and the reason she could punish herself to that extent was that she had made him go through all this doubt, and it's a way to say sorry for the doubt, I guess.
And it's also not a very good life to live with a husband that, doesn't remember any, like, you have to take care of him 24/7.
Yeah. And
euthanasia like kids in Taiwan.
Yeah. And I think also, this wasn't mentioned, but you can kind of derive it that he wouldn't even suffer. That's the worst thing, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna forget about it in 5 minutes, which is yeah. So that's definitely something. Is that it for Sammy Jenkins?
Think so.
Okay, and then so now I'm gonna add this, right? At the very beginning, he says Sam Jenkins didn't have a reason to make it work, so his system about taking notes was disorganized. I have a reason, I have a purpose, and therefore the system I developed is working for me, and I'm actually functional.
Yeah.
And I think this is big because of the plot twist that we're going to get to.
And just like ignoring the fact that everyone, spoiler alert, like uses him and he has no idea what's going on, he functions exceptionally well. No?
Yeah, but in a faulty narrator kind of way. Yeah. Because I have a lot of confidence in him in the first hour and 20, and then it just kind of degrades. And even, like, I don't know if you had this kind of thought, this switch, but this, anterograde amnesic guy has written upon him, right? Fact 1, fact 2. And I started questioning, how exactly did he get these facts, right? How did he arrive at the conclusion? If you're working in 3-minute episodes, how do you arrive to these conclusions? And obviously one of the reasons was that he knew to trust his own handwriting. So there was some continuity because he knows what he wrote and didn't. so he knows what was a lie and not. But there's this scene where he's on the phone, okay? Now, we don't know who he's talking to until the very end. And what we discover around 60% of the movie, I think, is that he himself doesn't know who he's talking to. One scene ends with, wait, who is this?
But the reason he says, wait, who is this, is because for like a whole scene, for like 3 minutes, he's scratching his arm. He has this bandage.
Yeah.
He finally takes the bandage off, and it says, don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, who is this?
And just the intrigue at that part of the story is so incredible. Because you're asking yourself, well, obviously at the beginning, you're asking yourself, who is he talking to? Then you kind of contextually get like, okay, he's getting information about the drug dealer. It must be some friend, some guy. Then a letter is slipped under his door and whatnot. And you're like, and then there's that scene and you're like, wait, who was that? But in any case, and one of the ways he comes up with fact 5, which is on his left thigh, and it's drug dealer, which again, this is all information about John G, is that at the beginning he has information, had access to drugs.
Right.
And then a phrase that we don't hear is said to him on the phone, and then he scratches off on the paper, has access to drugs, and then under fact 5 he writes drug dealer. And at that point I was like, well, how factual are your facts? Because you're talking to someone you don't know on the phone. I don't know where the information that he had access to drugs comes from. Obviously that's very obvious by the end because you get the case file of his wife. You get it, like, it's just, this is where I got the impression of the faulty narrator, where you're like, well, okay, how factual are the facts? What if you forget to read that tattoo that says don't answer the phone because you have a long sleeve shirt on? What if, also, he always turns over the photos way too late. He sees, let's say, like, he's in a new episode, right? He sees Teddy, he finds the photo of Teddy, he sees the name Teddy, then he puts away the photo. Then he has the full conversation with Teddy. Then he goes like to the bathroom, and then he takes the Teddy photo and flips it over and it says, "Don't believe any of his lies." And it's like, well, maybe you should get the habit of turning over your photos where all the vital information about the person is.
Just getting angry at a guy that doesn't even. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know he has tattoos. He discovers them every time.
He does discover, but yeah, but then. Okay, I understand, like, plot-wise, this is obviously, well, here's my anterograde amnesia. This is...
It's stretched at parts.
No, it's obviously stretched because, I mean, it's way too good to not be flawed in any way. Like, the idea is way too good to not be flawed, but it's very convenient, let's say. Like, he discovers all the information at the perfect time. And also, one time, he has this meeting with Natalie, which we'll get to, and 15 minutes before their meeting, he takes out a paper out of his pocket and it says meeting today at 1 p.m. And he's like, what's the time? And it's like 12:45. And you tell yourself, well, what's today, first of all? What is today, right?
Yeah.
How did he have the time perfectly to...
If he's good with his system, though, I thought about this. Like, you go to the meeting today at 1, and while you still remember it, you throw that paper away.
You trust yourself to throw it away. It's a lot of self-trust, and it works for him a bunch. But
the thing is, like,
except the eye reading, I'm sorry.
The problem is, like, you have a long enough conversation with someone, you should not remember who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
And while you're driving over to the restaurant, I guess you keep the paper, like, in front of yourself, because otherwise you'll forget. But you get there, you've forgotten why you're there. I don't know. Whatever. It's a good movie.
It's a really good movie. And explaining it is honestly harder than watching it. Next character is Natalie. I'll do Natalie. Now, obviously, everything I'm gonna say is the color part because it's not the phone conversation. So it is presented in the reverse order, but I'm gonna give it in the right order.
In the right order, okay. And Natalie, I still don't get like exactly the logic of the story.
Okay, we'll get to it.
You don't either?
No, I get everything.
Okay.
I get everything. I watched like a lot of supplementary videos, like I don't know, 50 minutes worth. So.
Expanded reading and watching.
So, but there's this really good quote that Natalie says, well, like, what's it to you? What's this whole... So essentially one of the first scenes with her is a meeting in a bar. And she asks, what's this all to you? Why do you do it? And because he's going to forget about it anyway. And he says, just because there are things I don't remember, it doesn't make my actions meaningless. My wife deserves revenge. And where did I mention the meaning thing? The purpose? Oh, right. That's the thing. This is why I mentioned it earlier, is because he says that his system works because he has a purpose, but Sammy didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you, knowing the plot twist, should think that that's interesting. Okay. From the very beginning...
The first scene, if I'm not mistaken...
is the bar. Oh, no. He pulls up to the trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay. So he pulls up and she says, hey, Johnny. So...
Too many Y's, yeah. Lenny,
Johnny?
I think it's Johnny. Teddy, Lenny. Not Teddy, not Lenny.
No, because,
Johnny.
Oh, because he is coincidentally Johnny G, right?
Yeah, he's John G, yeah.
Okay. So she says, hey, Johnny. Then he rolls up the window. Oh, he rolls down the window and she said, oh, I'm sorry. I must have, I don't know. I thought you were somebody else. Now we discover that that's because he's dressed as Johnny because he just killed him. And he pulls up in Johnny's car. Look, I think even in chronological order, I don't know how we're going to finish this. Okay. Then,
I think it's doable if we do
resumes. I'll try to do, resumes. So
is that a new dish, resumes?
Yeah, anyway, he goes in a bar, then she's kind of suspicious. She's
heard about him.
Yeah, she's heard about him. He has a note that says, meet there. Now, was that a coaster for him at any point, or is that just something Teddy gave him and coincidentally it had a meeting?
No, it was in the pocket of Johnny.
Right, it was Johnny's pocket because he had a suit because he just killed him. Right. So he goes to the bar. Now she obviously recognizes that it's all her boyfriend's stuff, and she wants to kind of discover this mystery and understand what's going on. And there's this funny scene where she hands him a beer that everyone in the bar spat in,
including him.
And then she just kind of, takes a lap around the bar and comes back to him with the beer. Well, he changes places, whatever. And she sees him sip it. So it proves to her that he indeed has the memory problem. Now she takes away the beer, but he still took the sip, so it's unlucky. Then after that, I'm going to summarize a big part of the movie. She essentially she was an associate of her boyfriend who was a drug dealer who was dealing through the bar. So essentially what they did is they served beer to, I don't know, potential buyers, and on the coasters, the thing goes under the drink, under the coasters, there was all this information about the drops and whatnot. So it was just a system to deal. Now, the problem is Johnny, her boyfriend, went to meet with a suspicious guy named Teddy, which Natalie doesn't know who it is, and he brought $200,000 in cash to the meeting and some drugs, I guess, and got away. In the sense that they can't find Johnny, and everyone thinks he got away with the money, so now they're gonna attack Natalie, obviously, for that. So she gets this bright idea so all the people that are a danger to her from this drug industry that, she kind of is in danger from because her boyfriend Johnny got away with $200,000 of somebody's money due to a failed deal with Teddy, and now he's dead, but she doesn't know that. She gets the idea of using Leonard's condition to just make him a killing machine. I mean, he kills one guy, but it's a romantic way to put it. So she just fakes these scenes of her getting beat up and comes back to Leonard, and she's like, oh no, this Dodd guy attacked me. You have to take him out. And yeah, so
yeah, and the way she fakes
yeah, well, that's
her getting
a big
beat up.
part. Yeah, the way she fakes her getting beat up is she uses information she learned in prior conversations with Leonard about his wife and insults his wife. And,
Provokes him.
Yeah, provokes him heavily. And so he lashes out, hits her, and then she continues to anger him by saying, hey, I can say all these things to you. You're not even going to remember them in 2 minutes. And I'll just come back and use you to kill the guy I want you to kill. And then she leaves her own house, in which they are. He's stressing to write it all down.
So
but
sad. That was so sad.
It was one of... But that's the thing. It was when we both were on Leonard's side. So it was made more sad because you're really seeing Leonard as just the good guy getting used. Still, by that point.
He beats her up. She says, I'll be back. And then goes to wait in her car.
And that look she gives him from the car is crazy. And by the way, did you know that's not Robin from How I Met Your Mother? Did you know that's not her?
Yeah, I knew that was not Robin.
Okay,
from
I didn't know.
She's popular though.
I looked her up. She's in not one movie you can name.
Matrix, no?
Okay, she's in Matrix. I thought you didn't know it was her.
Yeah. So she goes into the car and he's like frantically. The camera is a close up. It's like he's frantically looking for a pen to write this down. To write down that she's about to play him, and he just doesn't have the time. She comes back in, and
I think she hid every pen, no, because it was in her own purse.
Probably,
and it was his main pen. She knew.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, she comes back. It all works out for her. He kind of beats up Dodd, and Dodd just leaves. I don't know.
Yeah.
They drive him off into obscurity. Whatever. It all works out for her. Now, my main theory by the beginning was that it was all about love, and that she wanted to win him over, because I really felt throughout the movie like there was affection between the two. Well, especially from one side, because she asks him, "Will you remember me this time?" And he's like, "No, sorry, no." And there are some romantic scenes.
At what point is that? Like they wake up together? When is that?
I don't know. And the other thing is maybe she has suspicions, but it's never made explicit that she knows.
That was my question. I don't understand.
No, she doesn't know he killed him.
He comes in with his car in his clothes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know. No, that's fair. And honestly, none of the
things talk about it.
Yeah, no one talked about it. And I think that's because really, I mean, the thing is, it's pretty much a revenge story around a lot of angles.
Right, multiple revenge
wife,
stories.
Yeah, his wife, Sammy's wife, took revenge upon herself. Leonard's goal is to take revenge. I mean, no, Teddy's just money driven. It doesn't have to be revenge, really. I think it would have been more explicit. And I think the hate, and because Natalie can have the luxury of saying everything she wants to say to Leonard, I feel like she'd at one point tell him, I lost this guy. And also, whenever Natalie confesses to Leonard, like, oh, I'm like you because I also lost someone, it's never with a nudge of, do you want to guess who did it? Right? You know how if she knew Leonard killed him, it would always be like,
I think
with an undertone of,
I think one way to make sense of it is that she's the girlfriend of a drug dealer. I would guess she's probably miserable, and he did actually beat her up before. And losing him is not bad, and she's just trying to get out of the trouble that's causing her. You know, I think that makes sense. It's just, okay, he's not there anymore. Maybe she's agnostic about him coming in her boyfriend's car and clothes. Maybe she knows he killed him.
Honestly, the only time you even get an acknowledgement from her that he is indeed in his car and clothes is the first scene where she misrecognizes him. And
that's why
all of the rest is not.
I think that's why it's the most confusing story, is because it's all in color and it's all backwards, right? So I'm not sure, but it does seem like she's just, from moment to moment using him for whatever she needs.
Yeah, but where does the hate and malice come from? That's the thing. When she provokes him and uses all the information he confessed to her, well, I'm saying confessed, but like, I think the word is like confided in her, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like in the meaning that it was probably an emotional moment for him to tell her about his wife. But he likes remembering her. So where does all that?
And that scene is so affectionate. It's like you like remembering her. Tell me about her.
Yeah, like close your eyes and imagine her and stuff like that. And you know what the other thing is, which maybe I missed where it was explored, but did you notice how there was a zoom when they were in the cafe where she was bouncing the spoon and the fork? I thought that was conditioning. I thought she was trying to condition him to respond in a certain way. And I don't think that went anywhere.
No.
Unfortunately. Maybe we did. I don't know.
No, because I noticed that too. I think I would have been reminded of that at some point else if she did it somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, unless the second passing was like much more subtle, right?
Oh, I think you're digging too deep.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I honestly, because contrarily to Leonard, I am actually good at reading people. I do feel like the moments of affection where she's lying on his kind of lap, he's either caressing her or not, but he's holding her head.
He doesn't know who she is, probably.
He probably doesn't know who she is. They're falling asleep by the moonlight, and he's telling this story about his wife and how he misses her or likes remembering her. And Natalie, from the perspective of the camera, we can see her eyes, and we can see that she's awake, but Leonard can't because they're both facing the same way. And she has this choice of either acknowledging that Leonard is talking or not. And if she doesn't, that means that she doesn't want him to know that she acknowledged that he's talking about another woman, which would mean she does this because she cares about him.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah,
if it was only like she's using him 100%, she'd just be like, yeah, man, that sucks. Right?
Yeah.
You get it?
Another one of my working theories was that she is his wife and she's still alive during the movie.
At the beginning, I thought that too. And like the affection and the pain in her eyes. I also thought that, yeah. But then you see the picture of her with Johnny and you're like, oh, well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That
and did
messes
you know
up that story.
Did you know that one of the shots of the same picture of her and Johnny had the mustache and she was facing one way, and in another shot, Johnny doesn't have a mustache and she's facing another way. And that's a hint at his unreliability of his memory.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I watched it in the...
Not at all. I remember, I think I remember one scene with that.
Yeah, but like his fat
at
mustache and they're in the field or something and she's... Yeah, that's the same picture in the story, but it's a different picture every time it comes up.
It's great.
It's insane.
And it's so subtle too. It's like, it's not... Yeah.
It's, I mean... How is it not Christopher Nolan that directed Fight Club? Because it's the same techniques of foreshadowing and
yeah,
anyway,
but
maybe it's just great.
I think
movies,
this is done better though. Like for that aspect, this is done better than Fight Club.
Yeah, I think. It's both are extremely cohesive in the sense that, yeah, and I think it offers them both rewatchability value because you understand that you're just walking on his spider web, right? The whole time, and everything is connected. Except, I thought the hotel clerk guy would be more fun because I thought he was like renting a room to a person spying on Leonard, like the cop, for example, and he just discovered all the tools he was using to spy on Leonard, and he was in on it. And he was so stressed, but it was just he just rented him 2 rooms. But again, it contributes to the whole, literally everyone's using him in the story, and Leonard is also using himself in the story. We'll get to that. Can you do Teddy? Because that's the biggest one.
That's the craziest one. Okay, so from the top, it would be the person on the phone call is Teddy. So the whole beginning...
By the way, I'm sorry. I didn't really conclude Natalie.
Yeah.
Honestly, she just kind of disappears by the end of the movie, aka the middle of the story. Because except for this drug protection and half romantic story, and also us needing a link with why Johnny is dead, she doesn't really serve necessarily a purpose, which is wild to say because she's one of the main characters.
She's there throughout, but
she's just another person who uses him.
It's like we discover that the story really is about Leonard and Teddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Teddy is the one calling him on the phone. Then at one point, he scratches his tattoo, his bandage off. He sees don't answer the phone. He says, "Who is this?" Hangs up. And then later, probably he just calls him again. He picks up the phone, doesn't matter, talks on the phone. And Teddy tells him he's a police officer and that his name is John Gamble.
Yeah, John, whatever. For short for John.
John G.
Yeah, John G. But he's undercovers.
Meanwhile, he has a tattoo on his chest that says
John G
killed my wife in reverse order, and he just doesn't know that. Anyway, phone call ends. He notes down the description of the person he's supposed to meet in the lobby. Goes down, sees Teddy.
He acts way too suspicious. He looks at. I don't get that.
Yeah,
actually,
it's supposed to be the first time.
Oh, maybe just because he's undercover and he called them not cadet, but whatever. What do police officers call themselves? General, not that, but General Corporal John. And then he looks suspiciously at the clerk.
Okay,
and I think that's just because he's supposed to be Teddy.
But yeah, it is weird. It feels in that scene like Teddy is surprised.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Right?
Yeah. That's what it is. But then
I think it's the clerk. I think you're right, though.
The surprise doesn't make sense. So then I shifted to the clerk because he kind of stares. Well, he glances at him.
Yeah. So Teddy is a cop working undercover, and Leonard comes down, and Teddy says, "Lenny," way too familial for a cop, and Leonard says, "Jonathan Gamble," and that's probably why Teddy has he's off put. He looks at the clerk because he's undercover. He's not supposed to be called John Gamble. I hope I'm not getting this wrong.
Right, officer, right? Yeah.
I hope I'm not getting this wrong. Yeah. He says
that's
officer.
pretty much right. I'm not sure the chronological order, but
I'm saying the name because it
John Gamble. Yeah,
John Gamble.
John something Gamble. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually can find it.
So then whatever, they get together, they go outside, and Leonard takes out his camera, starts to take a photo, and then Teddy, clearly used to this, he's like, "Oh no, let's not take this background, let's go in front of my car." And then he takes a photo of Teddy, then is about to write John Gamble on the photo, right?
Yeah.
And then Teddy's like, "Oh no, just write Teddy. That's what I'm undercover, you should write Teddy, not John Gamble." Because if he writes John Gamble on the photo,
Edward Gamble, not that it matters.
Yeah. He looks at the photo, sees John Gamble, looks at his tattoo, and is like, "Okay, fact number 5, let's kill him." And they together go out.
Yeah, where do they drive? I'm not sure. The bar. Oh no. I think Teddy's trying to get him out of town.
Wait, do they? I want to say they go to the abandoned house. Why would they?
I feel like you could have because we're nearing the end anyway. So you could have just given the whole backstory of Teddy's this police officer who. I mean, it would take all of the
So just say the spoilers.
I think because
I think
Teddy's the
we're
last
there.
guy we're gonna discuss, right?
I think we're there. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't matter.
Start from the beginning. Yeah.
So Teddy, as it turns out, you really have to watch the movie before watching.
Yeah, honestly,
episode.
yeah. Because also, even after an hour, we didn't do the movie justice, or our philosophical and psychological considerations maybe won't even make sense if you haven't watched the movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Teddy's this police officer.
What?
That was assigned to the case of the murder of his wife, of Leonard's wife. And I mean, I'm pretty sure. Does the police not believe him? Yeah, the police in general doesn't believe him, but Teddy believes him. And Teddy,
especially about the fact that there was a second assailant.
right. And Teddy believes him and believes his condition and is really there for him, actually, while other people aren't. But Teddy is this not corrupt. He does whatever he wants. He's not a good cop. Like he
Not corrupt. Did you not get the whole $200K thing? We'll split it. He used him as an assassin for Johnny.
In my head, specifically, what corrupt means is like getting money from
the mafia.
From the mafia.
I get it.
So, but he's a criminal. He's a criminal cop. Yeah. And so
and he says it himself too. He's like, "Oh no, that guy's a." You know, at some point he said, "Oh no, it's just a bad cop. I'm an informant."
Yeah.
He takes on 8 roles. You know, John G, Teddy, an informant for Teddy, and then...
which turns out to be such a cool role. I feel it's like he's like supposed to be a mastermind. Like he's a mastermind for Leonard, but he's so stupid, and it works because Leonard doesn't remember anything.
Now, yeah. So I'm just gonna say this part of the story. Okay. Essentially, the whole. Okay, so. Him and Leonard, I'm sorry, I'm going to take one of your spoilers, but him and Lenny, because I wanted to inform you about something maybe you didn't notice. Him and Leonard actually went on this mission where he manipulated him into, well, at the beginning, I'm sure he was trying to help Leonard. So they figured out who the actual John G was, the second assailant. And the whole murder of his wife turned out to not be a big conspiracy from drug dealers and whatnot. It was just 2 junkies that thought she was living alone and they were too high and they killed her. So they actually killed the real John G years ago. But Teddy had this idea. Okay, I'm going to use this guy because of his condition and honestly the skill set that provides to him to do the dirty work that I would not be able to do as a cop. So let's say you don't have enough evidence to convict a drug dealer, you make Leonard just kill him off. And you give him a reason to do so because of all of his tattoos. And it just so happened that this Johnny was actually a Johnny G. And he was unfortunate enough to coincide with the name of the person who killed his So
you're saying wife. This person as in someone else?
The boyfriend of Natalie.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a random Johnny G, but Teddy needed him killed, right? So
and also Teddy is John G.
Yeah, Teddy happens to be at John G.
Yeah.
And the reason John G was chosen by Christopher Nolan is because everyone in America is Jonathan or James something G, like Gamut or Gamel, whatever, right? So anyway, whatever. It's a frequent name. And Sidney Crawford. So he... I knew that would get you. So for no reason. So he sets up a meeting.
You have no business knowing that name.
I know. He sets up a meeting with Johnny. Now, I mean, Johnny has to be stupid to be set up in that way by a cop. Maybe it was a meeting with Teddy the cop. Oh no, because he'd give his real name if it was all like fake crooked cop. And anyway, so I don't know how, but Teddy pulls off a meeting with the drug dealer John G. And he actually sends Leonard to that meeting. Leonard thinks it's his wife's killer, so he thinks he's doing a whole thing. And he walks out of there, and Teddy walks over. He explains that, it's mutually profitable, you killed him off, but now in his trunk, he has $200,000 that he brought to the meeting. So now we're just splitting it. So it's mutually beneficial.
I don't think that was like 100% clear. So Johnny G comes to the meeting where he expects Teddy. Yeah. Leonard is there. Leonard kills John G. And then Teddy pulls up right after. And the Jaguar with the money is there because that's what
Johnny came
in. What?
Yeah. And then now, well, I'll give you this part to explain why he kind of takes the Jaguar and what he writes after that. Because that's a big thing. But he walks off with the Jaguar and the money and leaves Teddy there. Just kind of, runs off. I mean, honestly, Teddy could have just chased after him or opened the door of the Jaguar. I don't know, whatever. But it's plot convenient. And throughout the whole movie, until we, of course, know what the Jaguar actually means and there's $200,000 in the back.
I did notice that, actually. I think you're... It's like 3 or 4 times
he tries to get the car.
He tries to go into the car, and and
Yeah.
Leonard always refuses.
Yeah, he always refuses. So once he's rolling down the window, well, he tells Leonard to roll down the window, and Leonard notices that it's broken, and he says, "I can get that repaired for you if you want." Another Leonard says no. Then another time, he's already waiting for him in the car, but the trunk is closed, I'm guessing. And he surprises Leonard, and he says, "Hey, it's a nice car. You should really leave these things locked." And then another time, the first time he meets Leonard in the order it's presented in the movie, he tries to go for the driver's seat, and then Leonard's like, "Hey, that's my car." And
What do you mean?
yeah, and
Then
then
he like plays it off, and then he pulls out the photo, and he's like, "Here,
Yeah.
I have a photo. That's
yeah,
my
and
car."
Teddy plays it off as like, "Hey, I'm the fun guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I take your car." But
That's
it's
why I
actually-
say like he's like a mastermind. He manipulates him, but he's not.
he fails
that, he's
so many times. Like
bad.
it would be so easy, you know. Especially right. Leonard doesn't necessarily defend his stack of photos. So if you know the only way he knows the Jaguar is his, you take the photo of the Jaguar, you take the key, you run off, and then you wait for 5 minutes, and then Leonard doesn't even know, right? If you want the $200,000,
And that's why I still, I guess, I don't know. I still don't understand Natalie though. Then because like at some point, you remember I was so stressed when she was like, "Let me take your jacket off." Like, "You're so stressed. Let me take your jacket." And I thought she could mess up his life, man. He has everything in there.
oh right, yeah, it is.
She takes it off and dresses it
Yeah, his
down.
Polaroids are. Well, first of all, everyone in this story is manipulating him. We're gonna get to the biggest manipulation
Yeah.
of all in a second, but that's his core. And honestly, the Polaroids are almost as vital to him as his tattoos, and no one even tries to go for them to manipulate him.
Yeah.
I mean, Natalie, like in Leonard's presence, tries to make him forget about something and tries to tear up one of the Polaroids, and then he says you can only burn them because you can't tear up a Polaroid. She's just like, "Oh, forget about this." I'm not sure what it was, but remember she tries to tear up a Polaroid, but it wasn't like behind his back; it was in front of his
Mhm.
face. So anyway,
So the biggest point.
yeah.
So after having killed John G, a subsequent John G, the boyfriend of Natalie. Oh man, this is out of order in my head now. But I know where I am. So Teddy comes in, and Teddy explains to Leonard that, he's actually a cop. He's, a dirty cop, corrupted, but he went off with Leonard, and he actually did kill the real John G, the first John G that did kill Leonard's wife. And in a flashback, we see Leonard lying in bed with a tattoo on the spot on his chest that's reserved for when he gets him. It says, "I did it," or something like that.
Wow, yeah, I missed that actually.
Yeah.
I had to see it in another video,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says, "I did it."
and it's
so,
the only time the tattoo appears in the entire movie.
oh, wait, but that's a spoiler because he's with his wife. But
Yeah.
oh, I guess I can say it in two parts then. Yeah, I think it makes sense in two parts too. So they killed John G already, and
By the way, the photo that proves to him that they killed him. He's the handsomest guy on earth. It's crazy.
yeah, Teddy took this photo of when they actually did kill John G, and he's like dirty, ecstatic, with a big smile on his face and everything.
And pointing to the place on his chest where the tattoo should be.
Mhm.
That's the vital thing.
And Leonard and Teddy thought that this would change something, that he doesn't remember anything, but actually having done it would maybe bring relief to his soul or something. I don't know, but it never did, and he was tormented, and to this day he's looking for John G's to kill. Okay, now I have to say the other part of the story. So Teddy also reveals to Leonard that Sam Jenkins, which is this big story that he tells everyone, that it was there in his old life, and I guess how he learned about interrogate amnesia. So it sort of makes sense that he has knowledge about it, but not that he knows he has it himself. But anyway, never had a wife, and that this story he's been telling people is really a story about him, and it's how he has been explaining it to himself. And so In fact, what happened to Sammy Jenkins supposedly happened to him. So his wife was diabetic. She needed her insulin shots, and she made him overdose her on insulin. Because she never died in the accident, and he killed the guy, but he's just perpetually tormented, thinks his wife is dead, even though she didn't. Well, she is dead, but she didn't die in the accident, and is always looking for John G.
In the accident, the murder. Because they just don't have the time to strangle her, essentially.
Yeah. He gets them before. So, like,
Yeah.
it could have been such a happy story if he just kept his memory. Well, happy,
Yeah.
relatively.
But essentially, yeah, to deal with this pain, his subconscious makes him out a superhero on the chase of John G. And every time he actually kills, well, after he kills the John G, he's now updating the John Gs to kill just to remain purposeful. And this is why I mentioned that he casts all this purposelessness onto Sammy, but he's not the guy with the purposelessness. He has a purpose, so he has an organization, so his system works. So he's actually proficient with this memory thing, and he's on a man on a mission, and he feels good about it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's, I guess that's the way after his wife to make sense of his life and have a purpose. And now the big part at the end of the movie, the last scene we see in the movie is him taking the photo where it just says Teddy for now, turning it around, and he's very angry at this moment with Teddy and with this big revelation, and he remembers the past 5 minutes, so he knows that he's already killed John G. He has no purpose in his life. I mean, in some way, he's realized that Teddy's manipulated him and everything, so he's very angry, and he writes, "Don't trust his lies," and he says, "You can be my John G," you know?
Because coincidentally, Teddy's actual name
Is actually John G. And so why Chris has been saying that everyone in the story plays him is because he plays himself. And right after, he takes a piece of paper, writes fact 5, license plate.
Six.
Fact 6, license plate, and then he looks at the license plate that's there on Teddy's car. And so he sets himself off on a wild goose chase to kill Teddy. And as we see in the beginning of the movie, he succeeds and he actually kills Teddy.
Yeah, and one of the things while he's strangling, while he's holding down Teddy on the ground in the beginning of the movie, one of the things he says is, "You don't even know who you are." And then Leonard says, "I am Leonard Schofield from Las Vegas, Minnesota," or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then he says, "No. Well, Teddy says, no, that's who you were. You don't even know what you are."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, to know who you actually are, you should go check in the basement.
Yeah.
So now, one of the theories is that there's more than the one body there.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, there's just a bunch of John G's. Now, it would also take a bunch of coincidences. I know there, again, as he says, there are a lot of John Jesus in America, but they would all have to be profitable for Teddy to kill.
And
So
also
it's
be in
not
the same
necessarily his,
town.
Yeah, exactly, because he's been moving towns, no?
I'm not sure we know that. Right then he's there, and I don't see a reason for him to. Yeah.
All right, so we realized the episode was too long. We explained the story in the first one mainly, and a bunch of moral and philosophical stuff and psychological stuff coming up in episode number 2 next week. So thanks a lot for joining us on this journey, and we hope you'll come back next week. Go to thinkinbros.com for more information, or contact us at thinkinbros@gmail.com. That was Chris, and we'll see you next week.
Alex.